Hey, so just don't make this mistake when, like, dating. So basically, there's hooking up, there's casual dating, and there's, like, actual committed relationships or exclusive relationships, or at least, like, a dating relationship. So the thing with that is, people, guys and girls, but people in general who they know they can date. They know they have the looks, they know they have the personality, they know they're fun, they know they're funny, they have, some friends, they have some things going on. They just don't have a whole lot going on because they don't have a whole lot of friends, even though they have some, and they're lonely because they're not dating, so that's kind of like fucking up, all the good things they have in their life anyways. So people like that, like I said, they get lonely, they get frustrated. They know that they could have, like, an ideal partner, but it's tough because of, like, the social issues, the isolation, blah, blah, blah. Plus, they're frustrated because they know that they could have it, because, like I said, they have the looks, personality, etc. So, a lot of times and they're powerful because they've built up empathy from their loneliness, and they're beautiful because they have the looks too. So a lot of times people like this, like, they would, if they could just find the ideal person and attract them up in the right way, then they would be happy with simply being with that person, like, forever. Like, that's the goal of a lot of people. It becomes foreign if you're lonely long enough, and you'll even, like, fight back against that by trying to be with a bunch of people that you never would have wanted a second glance at anyways. So basically, you try to bend the rules because you think that self-medicating with the sex is going to fix that loneliness. And, in some ways it can, in a lot of ways it can't. So don't confuse casually dating with hooking up. Because, like, if you have certain standards, like, I was really just thinking about it, and of course you can challenge them all for certain people, but, if someone's really attractive, or really insightful, or just really congruent, or really affectionate, like, if they have something that's outshining the fact that they may not be as young as you want, or as this or that as you want, then things might pass over congruently. But for me, it's more like, I would confuse those three categories, and my empathy would cause me to feel sorry for people, and I would allow them to fall in love with me, and I wouldn't want to hurt their feelings, but I would be stuck being like their property or something at that point, because I had to kept acting that out, even though for me it was really just a stepping stone. And I liked them, I appreciated being with them after being alone and stuff, and not being with other people, but I also knew that I could, for lack of better words, do better, So, and I also knew that it wasn't what I wanted for an actual, real relationship partner. For me, it was just casual. And that's the thing. If it's someone, and most people, especially if you're hooking up and stuff, I mean, it's not going to be hard to just talk and get along with them when you're already getting what you want and already feels so good anyways. So, I mean, it's not hard to get along with the person who's making you feel better than anyone else in your life. I mean, that's not hard. So, but you have to break it up, because being too nice can lead to a lot of hearts getting broken, and it can lead to a lot of guilt within yourself and stifling and all that stuff and bad karma. So, let's say that there's someone who, whether it's someone who's older than you, someone who maybe is unattractive in certain ways, but they have something that turns you on, or they're easy, or something about it, it turns you on enough that makes it worth it for you. Maybe it is just the power dynamic. Maybe it is just the ease. Maybe it's maybe it's the lesser parts of the person, highlighting the one thing that you are really attracted to. If there's a particular body part or whatever it might be, that you can discard the rest for. And people like that, like I said, you can still talk and be cool, but you want to really, you don't really need to let them in too much. That's a hookup, okay? And the thing is, like, anyone who isn't that attractive or who is older, blah, 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 you know that it's just not real. Never delude yourself. Never get sex happy and start to delude yourself. Now, of course, it might be better for you to be with that person than to sink and be with no one. The inverse can happen too. But that usually the only reason why you sink and end up thinking you should have been happy just to be with that person is because the guilt and the drama of mishandling the hookup, and instead of making it of allowing it to rise you and rebound you, it curbed you and demoted you, right? Because you got too close and messed the empathy up and blah blah blah. So there should just be real hard disqualifiers. Something like that's out of bounds. It's like, okay, you really can't even think of this person as like someone that you're casually dating. You can still go and be seen in public with, and not just like some random place where you don't know anyone, but I mean, like, you can actually, like, people in your life can actually be aware of someone that you're seeing casually to a certain degree. You don't got to make it an official online or take too many photos or anything like that. I don't really know photos, but there's still, you can even call her your girl or stuff like that. But even then, it's very casual, very, 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 very casual, and it's more like a friend, like a friends with benefit, really, a friend that you hook up with. Situations like that can work, especially in situations where you're only in a certain place for a certain amount of time, when you personally just are focused on yourself and you're not ready for something major, and but you still want some sex and companionship and stuff. And as far as a relationship, yeah, if it's not a girl that you can marry, a girl that you might actually be with, I think I believe I just said that. Yeah, if it's not a girl that you actually would really want to date, ideal. Like, a few years younger, attractive, sweet, affectionate. I mean, if they don't tick the boxes, if they're bitchy, if they have stored up resentment that they're unjustly taking out on you, if they have resistance with intimacy sort of issues and stuff, you can't even touch them and stuff, then that's all just a waste of time. But yeah, you really, really gotta map out certain corridors of response when it comes to like those 3 levels of dating. And don't mix and match them. And honestly, when you're really like hookups, most of them shouldn't happen. The ones that should, don't delude yourself, be careful, and move on. You know what I mean? And don't make it anything more than what it is. And casual dating, just keep it casual, never entertain too many delusions, not too much cuddling, not too much hanging out, because then it'll become something real. Just keep it distant. Someone you're casually dating, that's not someone that you need to text every single day, or if so, maybe just once. You certainly don't need to call them every day. The people that you text and you call, a couple times a day, that has to be an actual girlfriend. That's not just someone who, I have no one else to sleep with right now, so I'm going to pretend like I give a shit about everything else. And it's not that you can, don't give a shit at all, but do you give a shit to the point, because that's a sacrifice, especially for a man, especially for a person, just someone who has a hard time doing anything. Now, come on. So, don't waste your time. Don't waste other people's time. Don't play with your own feelings. Don't play with other people's feelings. Sometimes you should humble yourself and look twice at someone. Sometimes you should check yourself and be thankful that you have someone. And other times, you got to be honest and say, most of these people that I'm lonely looking around, comparing, oh, who can I get? Who can I get? It's like you don't want any of those people. And does that mean, oh, I'll never get what I want? Yeah, maybe. But what it means even more than that, it just means that you personally also don't want most of these other people yourself. So just realizing that alone will make it easier for you to focus on your own improvement.